I want to try to focus on sort of the material reality of the Trump campaign, not just the kind of like worrisome what if he things, which is part of the don't obey in what is it, don't comply ahead of time, and don't panic ahead of time either, would be my advice. But this is Johnson just squeaked by in their internal vote, and Thune winning in the Senate means that the Senate is drawing some serious lines about what they're going to put up with, and he's not going to usurp their power, because again, you got to remember, whatever Trump wants, there's a bunch of those senators that on the Republican side that would like to be president one day, and they want to be president of the United States. They don't want to be president of the CCP version of the United States. They actually want to be president. Thune is one of those people. And so he's not going to let Trump completely screw the pooch, or he won't be able to run himself. So they're going to be pushing back on this, not because they give a shit about us, and not because they're against everything he's going to do, because they're not. And I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm going to find something real quick. I want to show you something that I was watching. I probably will get a copyright strike, but fair use being what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I want to show you something that where are we? My history. There we go. Go to this one, and let's see. This one. It's the news one. That's the I don't know where. Yeah, it had to be in there, I suppose. Let me see real quick. Trying to find. I can't find. Hold on. Pause. I'll know it when I see it. Oh yes, here we go. Is it? Yeah. So there was an episode of. Where is it? There we go. No, that's the Christmas thing. This episode. It's the episode on WKRP in Cincinnati. It's not the one you're thinking of. It's the one where the mission burns down, and they need a new kitchen for the place, and they're trying to raise money to fix it. And is that it? Shit. Anyways, there's one of the episodes, fuck me. I'm scrolling through it so I don't, off camera, so that I don't accidentally give myself a copyright strike by playing a piece of this. Hold on one second. Hold on. Nope. Fuck, I'm not going to be able to find it. Anyways, it's an episode where this, on WKRP Cincinnati, where the mission kitchen burns, and they're trying to raise money. And Lonnie Anderson, hold on, I'll show you a picture, but I won't have the thing. Hold on. I can't play it because I'll get a copyright strike. God damn it. Fair use, God damn it. But there's an episode where Lonnie Anderson, who plays Jennifer, they're trying to raise money, and she knows all these rich people. So she throws a dinner party at her house, and she invites them over to meet the rich friends. And the rich friends are all going to build a new instead of just rebuilding the kitchen, they're going to rebuild they want to give them a whole new building and a piece of land, and they're really contributing. And there's this kind of back and forth about, like rich people doing checkbook charity, and Johnny Fever gets mad about it, and it's a back and forth. It's a little morality tale. But in it, one of the lady playing the wife of one of the rich guys says about Ronald Reagan, they're like, my husband just got back from California where he was meeting with the president, and he goes, how's the Gipper doing? And she goes, fantastic. He's going to cut this government to the bone, and he'll fix this government if it kills us all. It's the exact same story. Reagan ran on this idea of cutting the federal government to the absolute bare minimum. And people were talking about that the same way we were talking about this. We are now. Is the audio only under copyright? No. But if you play it, it could trigger the fucking, I know it's different on different platforms, and I'm on 4 platforms at once, so I got to be extra careful. But the important thing is there's this line, and it's in, this show was in 1984, 83, probably that episode. And she's like, yep, the Gipper's going to cut it to the, he's cutting to the bone. He'll fix this government if it kills us all. And it's exactly the same shit. Grover Nordquist in the 90s, we got a government so small you could drown it in a bathtub. It's the same shit. But then they run on, all of them, run as Santa Claus, and then they don't want to be the Grinch when the time comes. So, anyways, Speaker Johnson warns against dangerous breach of protocol, I guess, in the release of the Gaetz ethics report, which apparently the GOP head of the ethics committee said we don't have to listen to the speaker and determine whether or not we release our report, which seems to point to the fact that there's a bunch of fucking Republicans going, release that shit, get him the fuck out of here. We don't need this.
Speaker, after a late night and an early morning, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Great to be with you.
Okay, so let's start here. The House...
Let's start here. Ooh, good.
The Ethics Committee has...
Don't look at the pretty lady. Your phone will go off and your son will think you're doing the dirty.
Been investigating one of President Trump's nominees, former Congressman now, Matt Gaetz, up for Attorney General. And they say that their Friday meeting was postponed, not canceled, but it doesn't look like that report that may have come from them is going to be released. Democrat Congressman Glenn Ivey sits on that ethics committee. Here's what he says about us ever seeing that report.
There's precedent for that. Can't really get into what's going on now, but the fact that someone has left the Congress does not mean that the report can't be released or additional information for that matter.
So our intrepid Chad Pergram, congressional correspondent, he says that there are at least 2 times a report has been released after a member left Congress. Why be against the transparency? And listen, this report may clear him. I mean, for somebody...
Yeah, it doesn't. Hey, ma'am, excuse me, miss, if I may, thank you very much. If it cleared him, do you think it'd be a problem? If it cleared him, do you think they'd be holding it back? If it cleared him and made all of his accusers look like fools or charlatans, do you think they would sit on it for a fucking second? Of course not. But we all look forward to whatever the fuck his response will be.
Who's going to be the top federal law enforcement officer in this country?
Yeah, so I don't know anything about the contents of the report because the way...
Fuck you. You do. That's look, I know what my audience knows about the contents of the report. We don't know the details of it, but we know some things that are in there because the lawyer for the women involved, sorry, one second. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Relive Blogspot. Oh, that episode? Thank you. From Sparkly Carl Smith. That's awesome. Okay, hold on one second. If I may. Let's how do we go? Let's see. Both calm down. Johnny sticks his head through the top of the elevator. Nope. That's the fire in the building one. That's a different episode. That's KRP Relived. That's not the same episode. Just saying. But I appreciate the effort. I do. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yes. This asshole. If I know sections of it because the lawyer for the victims has said shit, this asshole knows what they've said as well. And I'm guessing what they said is also in the report. So the idea that he doesn't know anything that's in it is a flat out lie. This would, there's a commandment about this. I think it's bearing false witness.
The way the rules work, of course, the Speaker of the House can't put a thumb on the scale or be involved in an ethics committee report. What I do know is that the comments about this being, there's a precedent for releasing reports is not exactly accurate. Yeah, there are 2 breaches.
Hey, so you're just calling her reporter an asshole? Is that what's up? So there's a Fox News reporter that works for the show that you're on who said actually there is for two elements, and you're calling that guy a liar, not me, not yeah, okay.
Of the tradition in the past under very extraordinary circumstances. I don't think
This is pretty extraordinary because again, if you just leave, there's a reason why they wouldn't show it, because you just skulked off into the night and you're not anybody's problem. And if you want to get arrested for something later on, that's up to your local law enforcement. But this asshole is trying to get a bigger job in the government, dum-dum. This is an extraordinary circumstance. This motherfucker is up for AG. You do not get more extraordinary than that unless he was maybe running for president. I'm surprised that honestly, that this report itself didn't qualify him to be his VP.
I think this meets that criteria. Look, Matt Gaetz is a colleague of mine. We've been serving together for more than 8 years. He's one of the brightest minds in Washington or anywhere for that matter. And he knows.
That's just gross. Fuck you. Do not shit talk America.
Knows everything about how the Department of Justice has been weaponized and
no, because he doesn't. And I'll tell you how I know he doesn't. Because he's actually guilty, it seems. Allegedly. And for someone to know how something was weaponized, he would have to have been completely innocent and wrongly accused. Then you'd really get to understand how weaponization of a government works, because it was weaponized against you. It's not weaponization if you're fucking guilty. And if you're being investigated because you're fucking guilty, the fuck do you know about weaponization? You just know what it's like to be a defendant, you dumb motherfucker.
and misused, and he will be a reformer. And I think that's why the establishment in Washington is so shaken up about this pick.
What the fuck's he going to reform, you cretin? The age of consent?
But with regard to the report, there's a very important reason for the tradition and the rule that we always have almost always followed, and that is that we don't issue investigations and ethics reports on people who are not members of Congress.
He was a member of Congress when this went on. He resigned to avoid it coming out. That is specifically one of the reasons why you would release it. Shut the fuck up. Like, this is just so lame. This is just weak. Weak sauce. Pathetic. No. You wouldn't buy this coming from a Democrat. You'd go, he's resigning just to get away from this. Like, piss off. What a twerp.
Afraid that that would open a Pandora's box.
On what? Your other members? Do it. I give a fuck. Release the ethics reports on everybody. Knock yourself the fuck out. The Pandora's box would be the people who are actually innocent that were railroaded out, suing you for doing it and destroying their reputation. Matt Gaetz is not one of those people.
Because the jurisdiction of the Ethics Committee is limited to those who are serving in the institution. That's its very purpose.
Right, and he committed these crimes while he was serving in the institution. It still qualifies. It's not the same thing. It's not. You can't act like they're randomly picking Americans out and doing ethics reports on fucking Joe Schmo walking down the street in Idaho. It doesn't work that way.
I think this would be a breach of protocol that could be dangerous for us going forward in the future.
Why? Because you have a lot of ethics reports about Republicans who are diddling kids that you've kept hidden, you fucking creep.
So his...
Oh, yes. Jennifer and Johnny's charity. Thank you. I see that. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see if this is in here. Yeah, stretch this out. There we go. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's it. There we go. Hold on one second. Pausing. Now, I will, let's see. Here we go. The lady comes in and they talk to the lady and let's see if this.
Of the Memorial Hospital. That's correct.
Hold on. That'll be it. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can bring this in. Fair use. I'm making a point. This is politically relevant to the time that this came out. Son of a bitch.
One of my cheese puffs.
The cheese puffs.
Lovely. But the water smells.
Okay. It's that lady right there that says it. This lady.
As of the Mittenoff Library?
Yes, that's right.
And the Mittenhoff wing of the Memorial Hospital.
That's correct.
Well, say, you people are all right.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Carlson, please have one of my cheese puffs.
Okay, cheese puffs. So did I. See, hold on. Because it's right about there. And I do not want
That is
back on this one. Where's the Gipper? This is before. It's before all that. It's in the very beginning. Yeah.
far things in our capital.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a balanced budget if it kills us all.
There it is. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, fucking. Yes. That's what I fucking did it. Ah, okay. These are. That's the line. That's the fucking line.
Everything to the bone.
There it is. Hold on. This is it.
Herb, take this.
By the way, Frank Bonner is a fucking genius. God damn, he's funny. It's just that he played an awful person and everybody holds it against you. God damn, he's funny. All right.
Cheese puff and eat it. Mr. and Mrs. Mittenoff just returned from Washington. How are things in our capital?
Oh, the Kipper's doing one hell of a job.
He's cutting everything to the bone. We're going to have a balanced budget if it kills us all.
It's like that. Okay. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like this is nothing new for Republicans. This is shit they've been trying forever. And the response has been the same forever. And their success rate has been the same forever. Try it, you dumb motherfuckers. Because once they start cutting, where does it, who does it ultimately hurt? Who ultimately gets damaged? Red states and poor white trash who vote for Republicans. And they're the ones that squeal the loudest when it comes. And you're like, well, I thought you didn't want any government help. The irony that these motherfuckers are complaining about FEMA passing their goddamn door by, and they're like, the rest of the time you hear them talking about it, they're like, again, FEMA camps and fucking FEMA coffins and all that bullshit from Alex Jones, but that they don't want the fucking government down here until they do. And then it's like, hey, where are you going? Good Lord. I'll check out your setting on Facebook. Sounds keep cutting. Am I just that loud? Is that what it is? They might be censoring me. That's probably what it is. Probably the derp state. Okay. Anyways, all right. I can't play any more of that. But that one's like that line really, like, I remembered that. I don't know why. But that just like leapt into my brain when we're talking about all these people who are like, we need to make these cuts, and it's always the same shit.
This nomination will obviously have to go through the Senate confirmation, the Senate Judiciary Committee. And that's going to be a long process.
Yeah, they're going to see the report and they're going to want to enter it into evidence. So what the fuck are you doing?
Next guest coming up, Senator Chris Coons, is part of that committee. He says the report should be released, but he's not the only one. It's not just Democrats. Here's a Republican.
Look at his. I don't like doing this. Why am I having to defend raping McFivehead when I can't even look at boobies on my phone without my son calling my wife?
Senator John Cornyn.
I think there should not be any limitation on the Senate Judiciary Committee's investigation, including whatever the House Ethics Committee has generated.
So you want to see it?
Absolutely.
He's open to issuing a subpoena to the House Ethics Committee. How do you see this playing out?
Leaky, 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 leak, 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 leaky, leaky, leak, leak time. And Biden can pardon the leaker in absentia. I don't even need to know who the leaker is. They're pardoned. Whoever it is, you're pardoned. Congratulations.
Well, look, I hope that the Ethics Committee will stick by our tradition and protocol for the reasons I just articulated.
Because if I have to read it or if I see parts of it, it will set off the porn app on my phone and I will get in big trouble with mother.
I think this would take us down a path there where I don't know how we'd return if the House House.
Why? What return? Hey, asshole. The only damaged group, the only potential damaged group is people who leave Congress specifically to avoid the release of an ethics report about them that will be damning. That's the only part of it. That's a very small group of people who apparently know they are guilty or are being blackmailed and have no recourse because they're fucking scumbags. Tough shit. You're a public servant. There's an ethics report being done about you. You don't get to just fucking run out the clock or beat feet and have it hidden forever. Are you out of your fucking mind? Where's the bad precedent? As a matter of fact, the precedent should be, hey, keep your shit together, because just because you leave doesn't mean we're not going to release this shit. Maybe don't act like a fucking scumbag.
Ethics Committee and its resources, which are significant, substantial, could be used to investigate people who are not in the House.
No, he was investigated when he was in the House. The report was done. No. Doesn't qualify. There you go. How about this? If the report's done before they fuck off, you could still release it. There you go. Good? Okay, excellent.
Then where would that end? I mean, people could weaponize.
It would end at people who are innocent fighting back against it and people who are guilty not being able to just split and hide everything like they're a fucking minor having their record expunged.
That function of government as well. The reason that Matt...
How? Literally doing a false ethics report against someone would be a violation of the ethics code itself. They'd have to file a report on themselves and then, I guess, leave town before they hit send.
Gaetz is such an exciting pick to so many people is because he will go in and reform the Department of Justice. It desperately needs it. Look, he and I sat on the Judiciary Committee together for almost 7 years before I became Speaker.
Well, yeah. Or is there anybody else on there that didn't have sex with a minor?
Speaker of the House. And we heard the evidence. We saw the evidence of lawfare. We saw how the Department of Justice had been used for political purposes. How?
No, you didn't. Gibberish. You're a silly person. Lies and garbage. Whiny nonsense.
They targeted Catholics in some examples.
No, they didn't. In some examples. Then they didn't target Catholics. I'm guessing those Catholics, the fact that they were Catholic was peripheral to the crime they committed, which was blocking the doors at clinics and physically assaulting people. They were not rounding up Catholics, dipshit. Never happened. Shut the fuck up.
And parents at school boards and...
Then again, if you didn't do a bomb threat or tell the fucking principal of the school that you were going to fucking choke them to death or blow up their car or set fire to their fucking house or shoot them through the head with an AR-15, you didn't get a fucking phone call.
Pro-life Americans. This is not what our...
Nope. There's lots of pro-life Americans, and they only go after the ones that block the entryway of medical clinics. Your rights stop at the end of your nose, and my rights stop at the end of your nose. That's how this shit works.
System of justice was built to do, and Matt Gaetz will go in there and shake it up. And I think most of the American people understand that's an important...
No. And again, I got to tell you, like, why would you need a dude whose best friend is in jail for sex trafficking to be the AG to shake up the Justice Department? Really, there's nobody else. There's nobody else.
Function.
Well, to be fair, he was a member when the investigation was underway. We'll see now how the battle maybe between the Senate and the House sides play out as he proceeds in the confirmation process. In the meantime, President Trump has made it clear if his nominees get stuck, he wants the Senate to move ahead and possibly the House cooperating with this idea of recess appointments.
They already said no.
Forbes says this, that lawmakers in both the House and Senate would have to agree for the Senate to adjourn for more than 10 days, as the Constitution requires both chambers to agree in order to adjourn for more than 3 days. So there'd have to be House and Senate action. National Review says this about your role in that. It says the very idea that the Speaker of the House would collude with the president to undermine the Senate's constitutional role and effectively make the legislative branch a passive plaything of the executive should outrage any member of Congress.
Ouch. God damn. National Review coming in with the right hook. Pull the other one and plays jingle bells.
Would you take steps to put things into recess so those appointments could happen?
Listen, I believe in the principle of a new president being able to choose his team, and that used to not be a controversial notion. We're in a...
Yeah, but neither was the idea of advise and consent rule in the Senate, and that they could have their say as well. That's an integral part of that, dumb fuck. This would be the equivalent of if he can call the Senate into recess so the guy could shove his appointments through without approval, then how about we can just release the fucking ethics report without your permission or giving a fuck what you think? Just because the dude dropped out doesn't mean he gets to dodge this. How about that? Why is that a different set of rules for a different time? Why is that a different standard and not just an overlapping example of the same one? Why is one wrong and the other's okay?
A time of very divided government and a very partisan atmosphere in Washington. I wish it were not. I wish the Senate would simply do its job of advice and consent. And
they are. But the consent part, which seems to be a thing with you fucking guys. Do you guys just not know what that word means? Because if you did know what it meant, really knew what the word consent means, you wouldn't put somebody like Matt fucking Gaetz up for AG. How about that? You dipshit. Good Lord.
Allow the president to put the persons in his cabinet of his choosing. But
yes, after the Senate confirms them. That's also part of the tradition and part of the function of government. Why do you want to cut that part out? Why is cutting that part out okay, and somehow he should be able to just steamroll whoever the fuck he wants in charge of things without people investigating them and clearing them, making sure that he's not just a fucking lunatic like late stage Richard Nixon? Why is that wrong? But somebody releasing an ethics report that was finished before the dude quit, 2 days before it was supposed to be released, reason for it not to be released because you think it's that the fucking ethics committee of the House is going to start investigating random members of the public. Gibberish, nonsense, horseshit, fuck off.
If this thing bogs down, it would be a great detriment.
Bogs down. Here's a good idea. It won't bog down if you don't put up people who are under investigation for child sex trafficking. That would grease the wheels a lot.
To the country, to the American people. Remember, they just delivered a mandate to the president.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. 1.7% difference in the overall vote. No. And we still haven't even, it's probably going to be 1.2 at the end. One of the smallest margins of victory. Don't give me this electoral college horseshit. You guys have a lead in the Senate anyways because you have a bunch of red states that have fewer people in them than a suburb of Toledo.
Overwhelming popular vote victory and of course electoral.
Not overwhelming. Obama's was overwhelming. Biden's was overwhelming. This was not overwhelming.
A college victory, and they have sent the message that America First policies should be the rule of the day. So
No. The Constitution should be the rule of the day, and America First policies shall operate under that framework. And if they can't, then they're not policies. They're dictatorial efforts by a tin pot dictator who's going to spend most of his presidency on the shitter.
Persons that the president is choosing will help with that agenda. They will take.
Again, what is the agenda? Lowering the age of consent to 12?
Their leadership in these agencies, and they will reform them as the people expect and demand. So we'll evaluate all that at the appropriate time, and we'll make the appropriate decision.
There is no such thing as an appropriate decision that involves Matt Gaetz being in charge of anything, much less the Department of Justice. You absolute cretin. Look, the difference between me and some of our regulars here in the chat is that I don't dive into the whole like Tara will go sometimes. You're a big spaghetti monster in the sky, bullshit, religious beliefs, and blah, blah, blah. Because I give people enough room to believe whatever they want to believe in their life, so long as it positively informs them or they live up to whatever standard that fucking is. Okay? If somebody considers themselves a Christian and they act in the best possible example of that, like Jimmy Carter, fucking great. And I'm not going to shit on his religion because, somebody else is insulted by the existence of it. That's not how it works, okay? And people, and I understand some people just need to be a dick about it. I get it. But in this particular case, it means that there's no difference in your mind between this guy and Jimmy Carter. They both believe bullshit and they both believe in nonsense and they're both deluded assholes, and it doesn't matter. It does matter. Because it is a standard by which they live. It is an example by which they live. And Jimmy Carter really does, and it's a deeply held belief that he actually lives. And this motherfucker is a fraud. He's a phony. He's full of shit. And he's the worst kind of hypocrite because he weaponizes, to borrow their term, Christianity to use as a cudgel against genuinely good people. Fuck this dude and his bullshit, faux Christianity, I'm Moses nonsense. And that's why I think it's valuable to make the distinction and not just be a bigot against people's religious beliefs, period. Because if you do, what's the difference? Two versions of delusion? Is that what you're saying? Just one's the delusion you like and one's the delusion you don't? If the thought form doesn't matter, then he's not a hypocrite. And he fucking is. And I'm not going to let him off the fucking hook simply because he misuses something that somebody like Jimmy Carter genuinely believes with all their heart. It matters. And if you just keep handing it over to these motherfuckers, they will gut everyone. Willie Weed, I'm not putting down atheists. I'm talking about the ones that are dicks on purpose. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't whinge about this. I think of atheists that keep it to themselves the same way I think of Christians that keep it to themselves. If it informs your behavior and makes you a good person, I don't need to know why you're doing it. And if you're trying to sell it to me as part of the reason why, then it should be indicative of your behavior. Right? If you're telling me you're atheist and that's what informs your behavior and that kind of stuff, it's a great conversation. I'm glad to have it with you. But if you're just a dick and that's another part of your identity, then how am I not to make the tie between that part of your identity and the fact that you're a dick? The same thing is true with this asshole. You either live the standard that you have or you don't. And the only real say in somebody else's standard or self-identity that you have a say in is whether or not they live up to the word that they say. Not whether you believe in the abstract of what they believe in the first fucking place. Or, guess what? Welcome to the world of people who don't believe trans people are real. Because that's how they think about it too. And there's a bunch of people who believe that, but also don't give a shit and believe that trans people should just be allowed to live their life. And so their bigotry is immaterial to the world. Nobody cares. It's not going to negatively affect them. It stops at the end of their nose, and as silly or misguided as that might be, at the very least, it does not harm trans people. But the people that need to interject all the time, like, it's mental illness, it's fucking bullshit. It's fucking mental illness, it's bullshit. You see it all the time on the internet, okay? Same thing. I do not have a problem with atheists. I have a problem with dicks in the abstract. These are the same people who roll through when you post a song. We'll end on this. The same people that when you post a song by a band you like, who roll through and tell you who it ain't and why they suck. Unless you're an 8th grader, fuck off. You're a grown person. People are allowed to like what they like. Look, I don't have to like what you like to love that you love it. You understand what I'm saying? As long as you're not commandeering the radio on a long car ride, it's none of my fucking business. And if you post a song you like on the fucking internet, I'm not going to just swing by just for the sake of going, they suck. Right? Same people. Yes, Richard Duggins is a dick, but he's a paid dick. I'm talking about randos. However you act is indicative of whatever your belief system is. And if I sit you down and I go, what's your moral code? And you tell it to me, I will know who you are based on whether you live up to it or not. Right? It isn't the existence of that code. It's whether you live up to it or not. And everybody has the absolute right to strive to live up to a code and fail. That is the essence, I would believe, of how Jimmy Carter talks about Christianity. He has failed in his heart. He even admitted to that when he was running. Remember that story? He sinned in his heart. That's what he's talking about. Because he's trying his best. And that's a genuine effort that any human being can understand. I have set a standard. This is an example of this standard, and I'm trying to live up to it all the time, and it's never easy, but I'm trying to be the bigger person, and that's a beautiful thing. And I support that no matter what the driving point is or whether I believe in your reasoning for it. As long as you have that standard and you live up to it, good for you. I'm glad you have that guiding light. I don't need to be sold on it or join you in it even. But if you claim to be a person on that same ethical path and you walk the exact opposite direction while pounding your chest and saying, that you're a Christian or whatever, like Mike Pillow does, like Mike Johnson does, then fuck you, hypocrite. And for me, you have to have a standard that there is a good version of this to say that there's a bad version of this. And whitewashing it all away like they're all fucking full of shit doesn't tell me anything about them, but it does tell me something about you. And whatever your life standard is. Okay? That whatever you believe, wherever it came from, you can't hold back your bile even in the short term, even in the easy moments. Imagine what it'll be like in the hard moments. Why did you call me an atheist? I didn't, Willie. You asked me how I felt about them. I didn't say you were one. I should have been a preacher. Almost was. Thomas Percival says, dude, you're describing yourself. Yeah, I am. I set a standard and I try very hard to live up to that standard. What's missing? I mean, it should be abundantly clear where my standard is. I'm not squeamish about language. I'm not sexually averse. I'm not easily icked. I do not believe that if there is a God, it can fit through the corpus callosum of man, and therefore every variation of it has simply been an interpretation of the unfathomable by a biological organism that it is literally impossible for it to process. And so, as we say in Masonry, everyone is entitled to their own unique mistake. And so I will stand by what I say and live up to the standard that I build for myself, which is my own code. It's not written on a stone tablet anywhere. There are overlapping principles that I have with all of the great religions. as I think anybody with a decent ethical code will find, you know, in themselves or in whatever their direction is. But this kind of like this abstract wholesale bitterness towards large groups of people, especially the ones that don't come at you specifically, that aren't based on an ideology like MAGA, which is specific to a certain group of people and is, I believe, separate from regular conservative beliefs. I can make that distinction, and I will stand by my denigration and mockery of that particular ideology. But it doesn't mean I'm saying that the people who believe it are permanently poisoned any more than I would say that an addict is done for once they cross a certain threshold, that there's no going back, that there is no redemption in a human soul. Like, I'm not going to live in that space, nor would I expect anybody else to. If somebody else does, that's up to them. And if they do believe that, then that should be the primary standard. I don't want to hear them backtracking when it's somebody on their side, which is exactly what Mike Johnson is doing. Mike Johnson wants to beat his fucking chest about Jesus Christ and the teachings of Jesus Christ and the importance of the gospel and the new covenant of Jesus Christ with man and all this stuff. And then he wants to give Matt Gaetz a pass and be unforgiving to other people who have done far less. Do you at least see the important distinction there? That it is mine, as best as I can make it, is a genuine, manageable, realistic standard for life that is not based on my state of grace is the level of judgment I have against somebody else. Somebody was just saying the golden rule. I've had a problem with the golden rule my entire life because it feels selfish to me. This is my own feeling. This is not yours. This is not the way they meant it. None of that shit. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you is too low a base standard. I'm not nice to people so they'll be nice to me. I'm nice to people because that's the kind of human I want to be. Do people get the distinction? And do they know, can you guys understand why I think that's an important distinction? Because it is, to me. I think that's crucial. I'm not charitable because I want people to be charitable to me. I'm not nice because I want people to be nice to me. I'm not strong because I need people to be strong on my behalf. Those are the standards I want in myself, for myself. Not just so that I can get as good as I give. Because if you are those things, you don't need to get them because you already have them, because you are them.